After the proprietor finished serving the food, she bowed and left. The room was very tastefully put together, reminding them of a tea ceremony room. While it was sparsely decorated, quite a bit of money had obviously gone into it. This was a very famous Japanese restaurant where many high-up officials and other important people held secret meetings. It's like, we don't need it to be fancy, alright? Because then it kind of stands out. It's for secret meetings only. Kind of keep it a bit low down on the profile, alright? Takano was there, accompanied by about 5 gentlemen. She was sitting slightly further away from the men, because they reeked of BO. They were clearly in a much more important position than she was. One of the men wearing an expensive double-breasted suit told Takano not to be so nervous. Please relax, Takano-san. What we read is very interesting to us. Read, I mean. I can't believe this research was just sitting there for dozens of years. It is surprising. I thought most of the research on BC weapons the Japanese military conducted during the war failed to bear fruit. And nothing was left after the US military confiscated even the fundamental research. I heard this research was barely even glanced at by the top brass. I see, so that's why nobody knew about it, and GHQ didn't investigate it. In that sense, at least, it was truly fortunate. Interesting that Dr. Takano's research would be succeeded by a different Takano-san. Maybe that was her line up above there, but I can't tell because she's not appearing on screen. Because it's from her perspective, and these people don't have character portraits. It's like, how many parts do we have to go in for this freaking thing before we see a character portrait? Be succeeded by a different Takano-san. I suppose that's fate. It's like the deceased is using your body to complete his life's work. Okay, that's definitely Takano. Maybe that's true. I feel a mysterious connection to him too. Takano adored Takano Hifumi, who called him grandfather, but she hadn't revealed that relationship to others. She realized it wouldn't be beneficial for people to think she was involved in personal feelings in her continued in Dr. Takano's research. So publicly, she once had exchanges with Takano Hifumi, and after his death, discovered his research documents with his remains, and chose to carry it on. At least that's how the story went. You may be wondering, but maybe not wondering, like at this specific point in time. You've probably been wondering for quite a while. But what the fuck was that thing with the orphanage? How did that lead here? We still haven't got an answer to how that played out, and we will. This just goes to show how long this Takano intro is. It's like I said, you get to the end of Higurashi and he's like, fuck you, Takano, and then Matsuribayashi starts off, here's hours of Takano backstory, and it's like, it's nice, get some, but if you go from it straight after Higurashi, you're like, your blood's boiling, you're like, fuck you, Takano, I don't care about your tragic backstory. Like, oh yeah, it's tragic, yeah, she lost her parents in a train crash, that is tragic, yes. She went to a shitty-ass orphanage, that's all tragic. And she, some point, got out of the orphanage. I met up with her father's old teacher, bonded like grandfather and grandchild, even though they're not related by blood or anything. And she became so obsessed with his research that she completely lost the plot and went insane at some point. But still. Well then, what do you think? The defense agency was very interested. According to Nakagawa-kun, the defense agency's what? Technical Research and Development Institute showed great interest. They offered to sponsor the research too. Oh, that's wonderful. Congratulations, Takano-san. Was that your line? Sorry. I can't tell who's talking. Fuck it, I'm not even gonna reread it. Thank you very much. Here's what they said. There's a research council for next generation deterrence being led by experts from several different ministries. One of those is called the Alphabet Project. Have you heard of it, Takano-san? There was no way she would know about something like that, but it was very possible for these nationalists to research something dangerous without citizens knowing about it. Society forms something like a web made of connections between people. People hold their hands with other people who share the same ideas and end up knitting a net. Of course, some nets are well known, but there are some secret ones too. There was no way of guessing just how the men at this meeting were connected. A society involving research into deterrent weapons for the next generation. The Alphabet Project. They will use Alphabet Spaghetti. No. With those words, it was possible to imagine what that might entail. Deterrent weapons. As it refers to nuclear technology. Weapons are normally used to destroy enemies. However, the general idea of deterrent weapons is very different. The assumption is that they won't actually be used against anyone. Nuclear weapons are largely used as a threat to prevent enemy invasion. Both the US and Soviets possess large stockpiles of nuclear arms, keeping each other in check. But they will never actually use them, because if they did, there'd be a nuclear war and both countries would be destroyed. So they're like a legendary weapon you never draw. Of course, that last resort only works because both sides have nuclear weapons. If one side lacks them, then they lose all military negotiation power. In other words, nations without nukes are powerless before nuclear armed states. Well, you know, being allied to a country that has them probably helps a bit, though. That can't be true. Japan abandoned nukes and it still functions as a nation today. So some people may be thinking, but they're wrong. Japan abandoned nukes but lies underneath the nuclear umbrella by allying itself with America. That means the nation functions thanks to America's nukes. Yeah, I pretty much just said that, really. If that also means we must resign ourselves to forever be a vessel of America. In order for Japan to escape that and become a powerful nation equal to America, it must possess its own deterrent arms and steps out of that nuclear umbrella. That society must have been put together by experts who believe in that ideal. Given out even the name Alphabet Project. Wait, shouldn't it be Project Alphabet? Wasn't that how it was? Makes sense. Nuclear weapons are weapons of mass destruction. However, weapons of mass destruction aren't always nuclear. They also include biological weapons and chemical weapons. Atomic, biological, chemical. The initials of these three words make up ABC. Okay, the project gets its name. That's why weapons of mass destruction are sometimes called ABC weapons. I won't go into weapons of mass destruction that don't belong to those three categories. ABC alphabet. In other words, Alphabet Project must be a code for research into weapons of mass destruction. As it happened, this guess of Takano's was correct. By rights, Japan should possess nuclear weapons. We established ourselves as a peace-loving nation after the war, and after our vast international contributions, we've been recognized as a permanent member of the UN. Yet until we possess nuclear arms, we won't be recognized as a proper nation. That's the long-held desire of post-war Japan. That's kind of contradictory, though. Like, we are the peace-loving nation, but we need nukes in order to be seen as a proper nation. What? But then again, these are like characters that are pretty much just like ultra nationalistic and want, you know, power. I can't even. I mean, that can't have been Takano's line, because as it was stated in part 3, she doesn't really care about all that bollocks, really. She's just there to complete her grandfather's research. She couldn't give a fuck. Exactly, however, realistically, thanks to the nuclear non-proliferation treaty, the major nations hold a monopoly on nukes. Worse, our domestic public opinion is growing allergic to nukes, so foreign and domestic pressures make implementing them impossible. Yeah, that's the thing, is that it's like kind of disarming nukes, and it's like, okay guys, put the nukes down, but it's like this kind of thing where it's like, No, 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 no. Because, you know, it's like, it's kind of like the whole reason for their existence for the most part. It's like, no, I'm not putting them all down, because then you'd attack. He's like, no, 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 Fingers Kronos. It's like, okay, we put them away on kind of, I got you there. So, yeah, it pretty much goes nowhere, really, does it? Biological and chemical weapons are sometimes known as the poor man's nuke. Small countries that can't own nuclear weapons have already started research into that kind of weaponry. Oh, okay, that was Takano's line. Biological and chemical weapons are sometimes known as the poor man's nuke. Small countries that can't own nuclear weapons have already started research into that kind of weaponry. Doctor-san, please don't misunderstand us, okay? The purpose of our research isn't to obtain a biological weapon. Instead, our goal is to prevent such weapons from coming into Japan from other countries. So this is research into self-defense. I want you to understand now. Sure, that's all it is there, man. Yes, I'm aware of that. Takano hated this Japanese tendency to make excuses, but she didn't let it show on her face. No matter what they said, they already saw the value in using this research towards biological weaponry. However, in truth, that was just an excuse as well. If they actually wanted to research biological weapons, it would be much faster to research disease like smallpox and anthrax instead of an unidentified disease like Miyazawa syndrome. Was it anthrax? Because wasn't there like a cult in Japan that did pretty much a biological terrorist attack, and I think it was anthrax. It might have been. It could have been something else. It's just like, So it wasn't actually correct to say the defense agency was interested in it as a biological weapon. In other words, Takano needed a powerful sponsor who could back her up with funding, personnel, and a facility to conduct her research. So she used her connections and turned to the old men behind the government and economy, reaching out to each of them and getting them to forcibly pull funding out of the defense agency under the excuse of its application towards biological weaponry. That was the truth. Therefore, her project wasn't officially recognized by the defense agency. To be exact, the people who secretly control the defense agency were the ones who knew about it. These masterminds diverted funding from the defense agency to the Alphabet project, and then they pushed for Takano's research to be a part of it. Takano gets her funding and the influencers get to drain public funds through kickbacks. Considering that, it was doubtful this project was generally about researching the next generation of deterrent and arms. Probably just an excuse for the masterminds to funnel money into their own pockets. Well, those complicated matters didn't matter to Takano. Whatever those old men and influencers were planning wasn't her business. As long as she could get the funding for her research, that was enough. Either way, Takano had found her sponsor, a bunch of assholes. It was one of the biggest organizations around, too. This had always been her grandfather's dream. Takano was trying to stay calm, but she was about to jump up and down in excitement. I'm just picturing, like, that scene in the anime. You know what, kind of think of it, there was, like, I haven't seen it, but I remember back in October last year, I think it was October last year. Like, or maybe before October, actually. I remember seeing, like, a trailer that I didn't watch, but I had it randomly in my recommendations on YouTube, and I was like, wait, there's a new Higurashi anime? So maybe they've redone, like, all of that. I don't know. I haven't seen it. But the scene I'm thinking of is that scene, like, in the original version. Maybe they also did it in whatever version they did recently. If they even did that, I don't know. But Takano just kind of goes all crazy, like, Nipa! Because that's when Rika lets her into the ritual storage, and she just goes absolutely Renner. You know, levels of, you know, over the top happiness. Now I can't tell if it's her speaking the first line or the second. Takano says that once the research gets underway, he doesn't mind buying it out. Though it's still incomplete, he definitely sees potential in it. You're absolutely right. This research is only halfway complete. Sufficient funding, facilities, and personnel will be indispensable. About that, here's where the negotiations start. But apparently they wish to take on this research in its entirety. I feel bad saying this, but they think the burden is too much for you to bear alone. Hearing that put quite the damper on Takano's ecstasy. I'm not trying to make money off of this. I'm working as a researcher purely out of intellectual curiosity. What I need is a sponsor, and what they seek are results. That was the relationship I hope to establish. This is probably where Irie came into the picture, and Toмотake, I guess, as well. Takano realized she was talking rather breathlessly, so she tried to calm herself down. Either way, they'd be backing the research. Considering they're hoping for results that merit the budget, they probably feel that Takano is still too young to handle it. I know, you've been working on this for a long time, and you don't want anyone to just grab it from you, right? I totally understand that. Of course, we've already informed them. So here's the compromise we came up with. First, we'll start your research as an offshoot of the Alphabet Project. Once you have the Board of Directors' approval, you'll be given official funding. We'll have you participate in the project as an associate researcher, and you'll take part in the research that way. If she wanted their funding, she'd have to fall under their authority, of course. So far, she had no objections. However, the Research Society has listed a few conditions in exchange for funding this project. First, as was just mentioned, is to entrust the position of lead researcher to an individual that's skilled and talented in this field of research. I hate to interject, but who would be more knowledgeable about this than me? Other than the late Dr. Takano, of course. No. Please calm down, Takano-san. I understand how you feel. Still, how is this any different from selling my research to this individual? This isn't what we discussed at all. Calm down, Takano-san. This cunning old man didn't miss sight of the faint leak of anger that crossed Takano's expression. They gave evasive laughs as if remarking how immature she still was if she let her emotions show for such a little thing. However, they weren't laughing to look down on Takano. On the contrary, they were trying to tell her to wait until the end. Of course we'll make sure you get your way. Koizumi-sensei told me to take good care of you. Do you think I would just ignore you after he told me that? Don't worry. Please let me work things out. I'll make sure you'll be happy. What do you mean? You see, I get to select the person in charge. Everyone chortled except Takano. After a moment, she joined in. He's like, In other words, he meant that he would find just the right person. The defense agency had suggested finding an expert to lead the project because they didn't feel comfortable with just Takano. Now, Takano's sponsor was the one tasked to find such a person. In that moment, Takano realized it. How wonderful it is to have such a powerful backer. Let me work it out. I'll find some candidates for you. All you have to do is pick the one you think would be the most suitable. Takano felt better after hearing that. While she wouldn't be the official head of the project, she would end up leading it from the shadows. You know, as much as, I state, it annoys me how there's, this huge Takano backstory and all that after Higurashi, and he's like, I hate you, Takano. Well, because Higurashi was quite a while back since, went through that. It's like, okay, calm down, but she's still an evil. Well, maybe not necessarily evil, more what's the word I'm looking for? Because she definitely comes across as very evil and sadistic, but she's become twisted and lost sight of things and just kind of gone a bit mental in a kind of psychotic kind of way. I don't know. But, with all that said, it's just just kind of interesting to see, how everything, started with Takano, how the whole thing began. It's interesting. Especially because it's been like, God knows how many years since I've read through these arcs. Like, it's like, Let's Playing them has pretty much been the second time that I've read these novels. So, you know, anything else is just like, just the bits, the pieces of memory that I retained from the first time I read these novels. So it's interesting to see it all, like, especially from this kind of perspective, because when I first read Matsuribayashi, I was pissed. I was like, no, fuck this Takano bullshit. When we get into the bit where we kick Takano's ass and yeah, and it's just like now it's kind of a bit more chill. And I felt a bit after hearing that, well, she couldn't be the official head of the project, she would end up leading it from the shadows. Well, she wasn't an expert per se. Having a partner would actually be beneficial. I mean, that is a fair point. I mean, does she, you know, I mean, she's done a lot of research, but she's not really, you know, does she have that kind of, you know, qualification, you know, with studying diseases and shit? Or is it, you know, she probably has, but not to the, maybe an extent of, like, someone who's, you know, a lot more, you know, knowledgeable in that kind of field. They wouldn't be as knowledgeable as her on Enemies Out Syndrome, but they could potentially surpass her because, you know, they've studied for this kind of shit. She's studied for this shit as well, but she's only studied for one side of the shit, if that makes any sense. Give me some time to talk to the other end. I'll make sure you'll be happy with the outcome. Please just be patient for a while. I understand. Thank you for everything. Oh, by the way, it's not just the defense agency. I got a coon from the Ministry of Health and Welfare is willing to help you too. He introduced me to Ito, coon from the National Institution of Infectious Diseases. Oh, God. Some reason saying that line made my shirt just... You know, I need a drink a moment. Oh, Jesus Christ, that was horrible. You know, when you talk for a long, extended time and then you get a tickly feeling in your throat, like... Still kind of got it there. But I got a drink on standby, so... Yeah. He's willing to help you with equipment and other technology. Really? Thank you so much. Yes, laugh. Make this silly voice so that your throat feels even more tickly. This is a national project, isn't it? Congratulations, Takano-san. This is all because of your efforts and the deceased Dr. Takano's hard work. Oh, no, this is all because of Dr. Takano. Haven't done anything yet. Being humble is a good virtue. Just like Koizumi-sensei told me, you truly are a nice person, aren't you? Just, you know, don't get in the way of her research. Or if, you happen to align with her research, but not in the best ways. Not so nice, is it? No wonder he adores you. Anyway, the one... no. That's a different person then. Anyway, they want you to join the defense agency. Luckily, you have a doctor's license, right? We'll secure your position as a medical officer of the TRDI. Do you mean I'll be a public servant? I wasn't expecting that. All the organizations that involved with the Alphabet Project are public institutions. The SDF is actually interested in this research as well, and they're making strong requests to dispatch some of their personnel too. So depending on the circumstances, you may be treated as an SDF member. Well, just think of those matters as official squabbles over jurisdiction. So to stand above those officials, you'll need your own official position. No matter what, we'll make sure you'll be happy, so please don't worry about anything. I understand. I'll let you work things out. But knowing Dr. Takano's research was once rejected by the old Japanese military, it's hard to believe that the self-defense force is interested in it now. Well, that couldn't be stopped. With the war situation worsening, the Japanese military sought something with immediate effect, something that could turn the war around. I don't think they were looking down on Dr. Takano's research. That wasn't true, of course. Takano already heard that confession from the old man. We finally on the scene? No. She exhaled. To her, it was like the meeting in front of her was happening somewhere far away. She had longed for this day to come and worked so hard to reach it. Finally, her grandfather and his research were attaining recognition. This was the day she had dreamed of. So she was frightened just imagining it might be an actual dream. True joy can't be felt all at once. Oftentimes it's a delayed reaction. Takano thought that must be exactly what she was feeling. I think I imagine you'll probably be given a field officer's rank. Since you'll be second in command, you'll likely be a major. And that explains why they keep... that defense force thing, those people kept referring to her as Major. That's wonderful. Major Takano, huh? I'm a little jealous. Wait, no, that's wonderful, Major Takano, wrong character. I'm a little jealous. Now, God damn it, I need a drink again. These fucking voices I've given these guys are not helping at all. As a man, I wish I had a rank like that. Boy, oh boy, Major Takano, A major, what does that signify? Well, it's reasonably high in the rank system of the self-defense forces. It's like a sub-manager at a company, I guess. That will be your rank once the project gets underway. It's equivalent to a lieutenant commander in the old Japanese military. What a coincidence. Dr. Takano was also a lieutenant commander in the old military. Takano remembered suddenly. They were right. Her grandfather had been a lieutenant commander in the Japanese military. Everything she had done until today was so she could continue her grandfather's research. Now everything had fallen into place. She had even been granted the same rank as her grandfather. She had always believed that succeeding in his research would be proof that they had a bond tighter than blood. Now she would even be the same rank as him. This is fate, Takano thought. Maybe this is even a message from Grandpa. Yes, it must have been a shout of encouragement from heaven. I mean, considering what she goes on to do, I think it'd be the opposite. Like, this is not what I brought you up to do. It's proof that she inherited not only his research, but his will as well. Takano couldn't help but feel a sense of destiny for attaining the rank of major. Grandpa, I'm finally here. Nobody else could hear her say that, but her grandfather in heaven could. That's what Takano believed. She had only come so far. There was still a lot of things to do for this research to be recognized as great work. Otherwise her grandfather wouldn't become a god. She wouldn't become one either. You know, I'm just thinking of, like, one of the characters, like, maybe Rika, just, like, my grandfather is smiling down from heaven on this day here. And Rika's like, no, he's in hell. It's like, you bitch! Knocked over my drink. Good thing it's pretty much a bottle of water. So, yeah, it's bottled up. Otherwise, that would have been a problem. You must become a god. That was in her grandfather's will. I was unable to do so. That line preceded it. It was her grandfather's dying wish. Her grandfather entrusted it to her. All of his research. A god can't be physically brought back to life. A god is made in the hearts of the people who remain alive. Grandfather will live on in her heart. His exploits will be known to many, and all the scholars will fight to read his documents, to steal them from each other. And they will learn about Hifumi Takano, who began his research during the war, They will know that nobody understood him and that he ended up devoting his lonely life to his research. And finally, they will extol his grand achievement from his adopted granddaughter that created the greatest tragedy. Well, one of the greatest tragedies. Well, a great tragedy. It's like, congratulations, that's the legacy. It's like, are you happy? Higurashi and the crack eye. Jesus Christ. Weight of history. I don't think we've got any tips at all. But yeah, we're still pretty much nowhere there. We're still in the intro.